Happy Halloween, boys and girls. With many of the Halloween festivities being cancelled, I decided I would do a special video for the occasion. I was thinking of a few video ideas for the holiday, but rather than doing the stereotypical clickbait top 10 scariest roller coasters in the world, I decided to spice it up a little bit. Today, I'll be counting down the top 5 roller coasters with the best spooky themes. Now, I know since spookiness is kind of objective, there are going to be a few things that I'm going to have to take into account. The biggest factor is, of course, how spooky the theme actually is, but not so much how scary it is, but more how in line it is with the holiday. Another factor is how well it's executed. Is there theming on ride? Is there theming in the queue? Is there theming in the station? Is the theming even any good? These are all things I gotta think about when ranking these. So before we start, there is an honorable mention, and that is Banshee at Kings Island. The theme of this ride is a banshee, and it has an overall church and death kind of vibe in the queue. The only thing is there's no on-ride theming. You know, the most important part. The closest thing is that banshee scream at the top of the lift hill, but that's about it. Maybe if there are some tunnels or something, I don't know. It's kind of hard to theme a B&M invert that's this big, so I mean, Kings Island did the best that they could. Okay, so for the actual list. Staying at Kings Island is Mystic Timbers. Now, this theme is a little unclear. It's sort of like the trees and stuff are coming alive and don't go in this shed. Now, I will admit, the shed is pretty cool. I know they overhyped it a little bit, but you gotta admit, it adds a bit of theming where they didn't really need to. And it also shows that they were actually trying. It's still pretty cool in my opinion, and that old music in the background really adds to the haunting tone. And just look at the ride entrance. It just screams Halloween all over it. Now, I know there isn't a lot of theming in the queue, but there is in the break run, which is in my opinion on-ride. On-ride kind of overrides the queue, so if there's on-ride theming, the lack of queue theming doesn't really matter. Okay, so after a quick Google search, I now know the story of Mystic Timbers, and I think it actually solidifies this placement. So the Miami River Lumber Company was a lumber company based out of this woods. I guess Mystic Timbers takes place in Miami. But for some unexpected reason, it was abandoned, probably due to the trees and stuff coming alive. So now you're exploring these woods for some reason and stumble upon this shed. There's a pre-recorded message from the Miami River Lumber Company telling you not to go in, but you go in anyways. You go in, you see paranormal activity, bada bing, bada boom, that's it. So overall, the story is a bit of a hot mess, but it's still spooky enough to make this list, and the shed gives it a few bonus points over Banshee. Now, a lot of people say this is the creepiest theme out there, and while I will agree that it's a really good theme, it's not executed very well. There isn't a whole lot on the ride. There's some props here and there and some steam and stuff, but it's not like anything that took any brain power to come up with. A lot of the trenches and walls are just stale and boring, and I get that that might have been what they were going for. I mean, after all, the station is just another big white box, but it really just looks more like they weren't trying. The theme of this ride is spot on. Like, it couldn't be more creepy, and the logo looks like something ripped straight out of a Halloween store, but the theming itself was kind of lackluster. There isn't really a whole lot there, but like I said, the theme itself is really good, and I do think they got the logo to match perfectly with it. The ad campaign is also spot on. Like, it's alarmingly freaky how this ad is on TV. I cannot believe they aired this on television. And the slogan too, get corrected. It's just so, ugh. Overall, the theme, logo, and slogan are perfect, but the theming, you know, the most important part, was not perfect. In fact, it was pretty far from that. So because of that, I can't place it any higher than 4, but it got a little bonus points over Mystic Timbers because of that creepy theme, good slogan, and matching design. If you don't know a lot about this ride, then you might be confused about this placement on the list. It's a mystery, and it's a mine. How scary could it be? No. Listen, the story of this ride is whack. It is so delightfully crazy that it's actually a little hard to follow. You walk up to Mystery Mine and you'll notice there is a talking vulture. The main story, I mean, if we're talking major cliff notes, is that there was a mine that was abandoned and now everything is just whack. This vulture is whack. This layout is whack. This fire, why is there fire? Well, it's whack. Everything is just weird and it makes no sense, but I kind of like it. So you walk through the queue and you'll notice there is a lot of theming. It's actually pretty well themed, almost on the level of like Big Thunder Mountain. Okay, maybe not that good, but it's really good. So then you board your minecart and start the ride. You hear a miner laughing in the distance as you drop into pitch darkness. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire layout because this isn't a ride review, but what I will say is they keep the strong theming throughout the entire ride. So if this is such a well-themed ride, both in queue, station, and on ride, then why didn't this take the top spot? Well, it's pretty simple. The theme isn't very spooky. This video isn't ranking the quality of the theming. It's taking that into account, but it's mainly about the themes themselves. While the Abandoned Mineshaft is a somewhat spooky theme and the execution is really top-notch, the theme isn't just scary enough. I mean, while you're on ride in pitch blackness, hearing the crackling of ghost miners and calling of crows, I'm sure it's very scary. But from an objective standpoint, from an outsider's view, it's not very Halloween-y. It's good, but it doesn't have that scare factor that the other two that are higher up do. So that's why it's at 3. Still a solid spot, but maybe just not what you have expected with this level of detail. I will say, however, there is a drastic difference between this and the Smiler. Like, the effort here compared to that is just day and night. This is probably the most Halloween-y of all the themes. The Saw theme is really creepy. I mean, it's literally themed to a horror franchise. How much creepier can you really get? And they did a really good job. You got a well-themed station, an extensively themed queue, and an overall creepy vibe to it. But despite all this, there is one thing holding this coaster back, and that is the on-ride theming. The on-ride theming is almost non-existent. You get some stuff in the beginning before you go up the vertical lift, and you get this nice head chopper. But that's about it. And you know what? That's fine. This is Thorpe Park we're talking about, and they're not exactly known for their theming, so they did a really good job with this station and queue, and I can see the effort they put into it. It certainly looks like a more fully fleshed out theme than, say, Mystic Timbers and the Smiler, but the theming is not quite on the level of Mystery Mine or my number 1 pick. And speaking of my number 1 pick, that is... Now, The Mummy isn't even the spookiest theme. That will go to Saw, but it's the best themed, and it's not even really that close. And the lengths that Universal went through to theme this is really spectacular. This is the only ride in this list that I've been on, but even so, I do think this is the best theme. I'm trying not to be biased. I might be, but yeah, I might be a little biased. But regardless of that, you cannot deny this coaster is well themed. It's a masterclass in how to theme an indoor coaster. Not all indoor coasters are this well themed. I'm looking at you. So it really makes me appreciate this ride a lot more. The Mummy theme is also kind of spooky. No, it's pretty spooky. The ride takes place mostly in the dark, but when you do come back to the light, it's usually to come face to face with a frightening animatronic or to see a cool effect. The darkness and onboard audio just enhances that fear and overall creates the spookiest coaster on the planet. But that's just me. What do you guys think? I know Halloween is kind of canceled, so I hope this helps ease the pain a little bit. If you liked the video, then consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you loved it, then consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a happy Halloween.